guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to tell you how I cured my mastitis naturally. So if you watch my vlogs, then you know that I had mastitis about a week ago. It was awful, so if I could help some other mamas possibly going through the same thing, I would love to do so. Yeah. And he was not content in any of his baby contraptions, so Mr. Luke is going to be in this video with us. And this is the main person who helped relieve my mastitis. So let me give you some background of like what happened. So I had been planning my husband's birthday party around 3 weeks ago is when it really started, and he had started sleeping through the night at that time, and I was not about to wake up and pump. You know, when you go to bed you're like, yeah, I'll get up and pump, but when you're sleeping so good finally through the night, you're like, I'm not getting up right now. So that's what I did. I didn't get up and I didn't wake him up to nurse him. So he was sleeping through the night. Yes, he was. And I got engorged. Now, this is the third baby that I've breastfed. I have never had mastitis. I breastfed my second child for 2.5 years, and I did get plug ducts, but I never got mastitis. So I really didn't think I would ever have this problem. But little did I know I was about to be in full-blown like pain. So I had become engorged, and it was really hard and painful to nurse him on my left side. But I just nursed through it because I knew I could get mastitis if I didn't get it unclogged. I do think I got it unclogged that time, and I was instantly relieved. Fast forward 2 weeks later, he's no longer sleeping through the night. We're in the full-blown 4-month sleep regression at that point. And I do give him bottles during the day, so he gets like 1 or 2 bottles during the day, and then I nurse him throughout the night on demand as he wakes up. I'll just nurse him back to sleep. But he had less of an appetite, so he wasn't fully emptying my breast. Yeah, he wasn't fully emptying my breast, so I still had milk when I was going back to sleep. And I had started to, since I was no longer pregnant, I started to sleep on my stomach, which is also on your chest. And on my left side, I tend to favor sleeping on my left side or my stomach. So I think all the milk just kind of was like squished when my milk would come in when I was asleep on my stomach, and then if I was on my side, it was just all stay on this one side, and it got really painful right here on this left side. So I just kept continuing to nurse through it, pump through it once I got up, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and my breast kept getting bigger and bigger, and I could tell that it was not emptying. And when I would squeeze, hardly anything would come out, but I knew my breast was full, and it was rock hard, and it was getting more and more painful. It was getting hot, and there was like a huge knot right here at the top left side. So I just kept nursing him as much as possible, but he was starting to get frustrated because nothing was coming out. So he started to refuse that breast. So I started nursing him on the right side, and he would nurse fine, but on the left he would refuse because he was just getting frustrated because nothing was coming out. So I was getting really frustrated. I was in a lot of pain. It's hard to hold a baby when you're in that much pain right on your breast area. It's hard really to do anything when you're moving because your arms kind of rub your breasts move around as you're doing things. The part of being a girl, part of being a woman. So I was just getting really frustrated. I was in a lot of pain and trying to take care of 3 kids while you're in pain. And yeah, it was just not a good time. So it just kept getting worse and worse. So I was like Googling all the things to do. I'd had plug ducts before with Reagan, so I knew a few things to try. So I started drinking pineapple juice, which is supposed to help with inflammation. I started taking ibuprofen to relieve the inflammation and the pain. I was massaging my breast. I was hand expressing in the shower. I was using hot compresses, which you can do, but don't overdo it, because that can cause, heat can cause more inflammation and milk production. I started to try to pump, but I was getting little to nothing out when I pumped, when I would usually get 2 to 4 ounces at each pumping session. So yeah, I was getting like less than half an ounce, sometimes even less than that. Sometimes it was just drops, and it hurt so bad to pump. You want to pump, but you don't want to pump too much, because obviously pumping signals your body to make more milk, and if you're not getting it unclogged, it's just going to clog more and more, and it's going to be more and more backed up. And that's what happened to me. It just started getting more and more backed up all the way up into my armpit, and it was incredibly painful, you guys. So I just kept being persistent though, kept trying everything. Like I said, hot showers, hot compresses, massaging my breasts in the shower, trying to hand express in the shower, and nursing him on demand, nursing him. Even when he wasn't hungry, I would put him to the breast, and let me tell you guys, it hurt so bad it felt like lava was coming out when I nursed him. And it was all I could do not to scream and cry every time I nursed him on that side. But it was also the only way to get any kind of relief. So it was very frustrating. And I started to run a fever. It got up to 101.4 was the highest it got when I checked it. So I was feeling like I had the flu, and I knew it was from that. Like, I knew I wasn't like sick, but I knew it had to be from my breast becoming infected. So I kept taking the ibuprofen, and my fever would break, but then it would come back, and I just felt awful. When you feel like you have the flu and trying to take care of a baby and your other kids, it was a hot mess. Luckily I had my husband, but if you're a single mama, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I hope you have a good support system, someone to help you, because it is really hard. Like, I could hardly hold my baby. It hurts so bad. So I remember that I had some soy lecithin from when I had plug ducts with Miss Reagan years ago, and I did not check the expiration date, and I took it just out of desperation, and I had the most severe stomach cramps I've ever had in my life. And I ended up going to the emergency room. And I didn't go in though, because I was like, if I can just wait, because it was on a weekend. I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars when I knew it was probably just from the soy lecithin. So I was like, if I can just wait until morning. But I was like, what if this is something serious, because it hurt like so bad. So I recommend not taking soy lecithin, and don't take if it's expired. I didn't realize, I should have known it would be expired, but I didn't realize, and I think that's why my stomach hurt so bad. I took it twice, one at night and one the next morning, and then the stomach cramps were so bad, you guys. And it wasn't just cramps, it was like a constant pain, and it just hurt. My whole intestines just hurt. So, but it did seem to help my breasts a little bit. And what lecithin does is it kind of liquefies your fat. So there's fat in your milk, obviously, for the baby. And sometimes that fat just gets clogged in your milk duct, trying to go through the glands to, or go through that duct to your baby. If you have a little more fat in your milk at that time, sometimes it can just get clogged up. And yeah, it was just a combination of him sleeping through the night and me sleeping on my chest, I think. And then it changed to him having a low appetite, so he wasn't emptying the breast. A combination of all of those things, and that's a recipe for mastitis. So we sat in the parking lot at the emergency room. I chugged and chugged water, and I started to feel better, so we went home. But my fever came back once we got home, and I started to feel like I had the flu again, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to get an antibiotic. So I called my midwife the next morning. I kept taking the ibuprofen, and my fever did break. But I called my midwife the next morning, and she was like, if you don't have a fever, I can't really prescribe you an antibiotic over the phone. At that point, my fever had broken, so I didn't really have a fever, but I was still in pain, and I just could not get that duct unclogged. So I knew the fever was going to come back, but I didn't have a fever at that time. So she was like, and my midwife is an hour away in Atlanta, so I really didn't want to make that drive with all the kids, and I wasn't feeling well. So I was like, just give me some time and I'll see if my fever comes back. If it does, I'll come in and get an antibiotic. So I waited and I just kept nursing him, and that duct came unclogged. Now, the one thing that I did the night before that I had not tried yet was cabbage leaves. I never tried that with Reagan or Briley or with this baby. So my husband had went and bought some cabbage leaves, and I put a cabbage leaf in my bra overnight. My breast hurt so bad all night that night, but I do believe that is what helped me unclog that duct naturally. Now, you have to be careful with cabbage leaves because they will dry up your milk. If you're trying to wean or trying to dry up your breast milk, you're recommended to use cabbage leaves because it works. And I wasn't a firm believer until I tried it, but let me tell you, that cool cabbage leaf felt so good on my breast. And before that, another thing I had done in the shower the night before, because we had taken him to his 4-month appointment like a few days before this, and the nurse told me that his wife had mastitis, and what she did was she dangle fed, like you kind of lay over the top of your baby, like kind of on all fours, and dangle feed to let gravity kind of help you. And then he said she would just squeeze as hard as she could to get that duct unplugged. So that was kind of a last resort for me because that hurt like hell. That hurt so bad. So I did try that the night before and the cabbage leaves, and I do believe it helped. Another thing that I did the morning that I called the midwife was I had watched a video of a physical therapist. They treat mastitis as well. I had no idea. And what she said they would press as hard as they could on the mast or the lump where the duct was clogged. They would press as hard as they could on that. It's going to hurt, but it works. And then she said they would press as hard as they could, and then they would sweep toward the nipple to relieve that mastitis. And sometimes it took a few times. So I tried that as well. So those are all of the things that I did to get that duct unplugged. And then I nursed him as much as I possibly could stand, and I do believe that is how I got that duct unclogged. So I hope this might be helpful to somebody going through the same thing, because it was awful, and I almost did have to go get antibiotics, but I really didn't want to, just because that can mess up your gut health and your baby's gut health, and I really just try to avoid antibiotics if they're not absolutely necessary. So I tried all the all-natural things that I could think of first, and they worked. Now, if you try all of these things and you're still having a fever and you still feel like you have the flu and you're not doing well and it's not unclogging, please go see your doctor and get an antibiotic, because it will not get better until that duct is cleared. You can end up getting an abscess in your breast. You could end up having to have that duct cut out. Sometimes they'll take a needle and stick in it and drain it. So if you don't want to do that, you definitely want to go get the antibiotics and get things cleared up. And even with the antibiotics, I think you still have to try to get that duct unclogged. The antibiotic just takes care of the infection, but the duct still has to become unclogged. So you're still going to need to do all of the things to get that duct unclogged. I was this close to giving up on breastfeeding. Even though I had nursed my daughter for 2.5 years, really no problem, I have only been nursing him 4 months, and I was like, I was ready to give up. It hurt so bad. I wept, I screamed, I cried. I was so overwhelmed, like I didn't know what to do, so frustrated. So I just did everything. You have to be persistent. Hey, it's alright. You definitely have to be persistent. And my heart goes out to you if you're going through it, because I know how extremely painful it is. So yeah, I hope this video helps somebody who may be dealing with mastitis or a clogged milk duct. Mr. Luca is getting a little fussy, so I'm going to end this video here. Like I said, I hope I helped someone out. If I did, please comment below if you've had mastitis and you healed it naturally, or if you've had it and you took antibiotics. Comment below with your experience. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure it could help someone else out looking to relieve their mastitis as well. So again, I thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe down below if you'd like to see more videos from me. And I love you all, and Jesus loves you too. God bless you all. Bye.